Jenny Fisher. She also is a freshman in high school, and then younger, and also my sister. David Hirsch, you are a freshman English teacher and theater advisor.
Theater advisor.
Okay.
And we have a freshman in college and a working person out of Deerfield alumni.
And this is Glennis Hirsch, one of the guidance counselors at the high school. Brian Casario, he's the student activities director. Your kids will get to know him very quickly. And you also have a homeroom and an advisory. And then we have two students, Shula Horton, who is a sophomore, and Jonah Friedman, right?
Yeah.
Who is your freshman.
Yeah.
So they are going to provide a lot of helpful information tonight.
So, I will be your moderator for this evening, and we've got a lot of great topics that we're going to go through and discuss. I know there might be questions that come up, but if I would ask you please to save them to the end, jot them down, there's pens around, that would be great. And I promise you we will save time at the end to answer questions, and we will end at 8:30 because I know they both have homework to get to at home. Or maybe some Grater's ice cream, I heard, so we'll see what happens. First, I just kind of want to know, how many people, this is going to be your first kid at Deerfield High School? Okay. So I'm not surprised that's the show of hands that are in the room. That's wonderful. Welcome. We're very excited for you to be warriors soon. I think one of the things you're going to learn tonight is that Deerfield High School is a wonderful place. I don't think that we're a perfect place, but I think that we're a wonderful place that has a lot of great resources, and I think you're going to hear about those things tonight. And you're going to hear about some parents, some staff, and some students' experiences. But remember, it's just ours. But we're welcome to answer questions or talk to you via email or phone another time too, if anything else would come up. So I'm just going to kind of start real quick at the beginning and ask the two students to kind of talk about, I believe, Shepherd and Caruso.
Yeah.
Correct. And I know that people come from other schools too, but what do you guys think, how do you think that the middle schools prepared you, or how did the middle schools prepare you to come to Deerfield High School? What was your experience?
I think that in the middle schools, one of the things they really emphasize, like starting in 6th grade and like through the end of 8th grade, was like taking initiative as a student in terms of like reaching out to teachers, like on your own, and like really being a self-advocate. And that was something that I found to be like really, really helpful as I entered the high school, and that was a skill that I used like very frequently. And then like in terms of academics, obviously it provides like a very like solid basis, and I felt like there was no class that I walked into and I felt behind. I felt very like I was in the same place walking in as everyone else, which I thought was really helpful.
For me, the middle school taught me how to organize really well, and that's like a big thing in high school. Like, if I'm not organized in high school, then I won't remember my homework, when I test. So like in middle school, like they always gave us those assignment notebooks and helped out a lot. And they give us one in high school, but like people don't really use it. I use mine, which is really helpful. And that's what the middle school taught me.
So I'm sure there's probably a lot of parents in the audience that are going right now, they just said be organized. My kid is not organized at all. And I'm a little panicked about that. So are there like kind of like helpful things like that you can think of that happened either at the middle school or even like the beginning of freshman year that helped you get organized?
Yeah, so one thing that they didn't do as much in the middle schools that they do a lot in the high schools is at the beginning of basically every unit in class, like you get syllabus and you know approximately what your focus is per unit. So to kind of look ahead, that doesn't happen in every class, but it does happen in like a lot of classes. And to kind of look ahead and be able to plan ahead, knowing what I would have to do each night. If I'm going to have a busy night one night, if I can work ahead, I find that that really helps me get on top of things and to kind of look ahead at my week. And I know, like personally, Jonah mentioned he used the assignment notebook. I just use the iCloud app for reminders because then I can get to that from my Chromebook or my phone, and I think that's really helpful. I can check things off as I do them, and I like have constant access either through like my phone or my Chromebook, so I think that's really helpful in terms of organization.
For me, especially my teacher in social studies last year taught me how to take notes well, because in high school it's very independent. Like they don't tell you to write this down. It's just what you hear, you write down. And my teacher, especially in 8th grade, mostly in 8th grade, all my teachers didn't really tell me what to write down. I had to do it myself because you have to learn in high school. Because like teachers, if you're really independent in high school, in middle school your teachers will help you and if you get asked to do more, but like in high school you're just much more independent.
Do you think you get a little like, kind of like space or a little time to get yourself organized and together that the beginning of freshman year? You think people will give you a little bit of slack there? Okay, that's good. If that's not true, you can say.
Definitely understanding to some extent. It's, it's new for
That's good.
everyone.
When you started, how did you know like what cycle day it was? How did you figure that out?
I looked up on the website to try and find the calendar and schedules. I filled it all in. But I carried my schedule around with me. I set it as my wallpaper on my phone and I constantly checked it. Eventually I got used to it and it really is not confusing at all anymore. So it catches on very, very quickly.
Yeah, it's not confusing at all. Like at first, maybe the first 4 days, 3 days, it's confusing. Except now for me, 100 days are very confusing. As Mr. Hirsch knows, for theater advisory, I was late because I thought I was at 12:37 because we haven't had a 100-day in so long. So I came at 12:37, but class really started at 12:34. Which I know that because like that's when the bell rings, so I just assumed that's when it was, but it was not. But you get to know the
So let me just add something to that real quick. They say that it's not very confusing at all, and it is. The high school kids pick up on it very quickly. I'm a 10-year high school person already. I still get confused to this day. You will be confused, and I see some people in the audience who I know have had kids go through it. They're like, yes, I'm still confused. They pick it up way faster than we ever will. So you really don't have to worry about that. We pick that up on pretty quickly.
For those who are new to us, we have a rotating cycle schedule. So on a regular 5-day week, on Monday, we will have all 8 classes. It will often be a late arrival day. Those 8 classes are pretty fast, about 36 minutes per class. On the 4 other days, we see 6 of the 8 classes for about 58 minutes. Each of those days, 2 of those classes drop out. And the name of that cycle is for the 2 that aren't there. So today, Tuesday, was a 7-8 day. We have periods 1 through 6. Tomorrow is a 5-6 day. We will have periods 1, 2, 3, 7, 8. 1 through 4, 7, 8. Right? And we all just sort of go with it. I actually carry a planner with the times. I have a planner, just sort of the times are written on it. And so I know where to go. So the kids get that really quickly, and your students are going to have a slightly different, because we're going to start with 3 100 days for them. So they'll have 3 days where they just see everything real regular right up front before we really start to do the sliding scale.
So let's kind of start with, we'll start with the parents over there. So what do you think for you was the biggest difference going from being a middle school parent to a high school parent?
Good question. I'm going to back up 1 second though. I just want to tell you, so I have boy-girl twins who are freshmen now, and I have a freshman and college daughter. So I've seen 3 very different kids. I was sitting where you were sitting thinking there was no way my son was going to keep up academically. I didn't see any writing coming home from the middle school. I didn't see any research papers. And I'm telling you, he's doing it. So I know trust the system sounds sort of hokey, but you might not think your kids are prepared, and they just are. So, okay, that's the first thing. Biggest thing for me was letting them figure it out. So I don't understand the cycle schedule at all. I couldn't help them with their template for the first day of school. My recommendation is have a family friend, someone older who's been through the high school, help them with the template. You never really have to understand it. I still don't understand it. You don't have to. But my biggest thing, middle school to high school difference, is not sending that email I want to send to a teacher, letting them figure everything out. Good?
Yes.
I would say the same thing.
Yeah.
It's, your kids are going to be completely, they're all of a sudden become so independent, and you're really going to just trust that they know what they're doing, and they do. They figure it out, and I agree. Like, I have no clue what day is a 6 days, and I don't need to know. It's not my responsibility anymore. It's their responsibility, and they pull through, and it just becomes very natural to them after a while.
Well, but we say they figure it out, but there really are a lot of resources to make that happen. I mean, they have a homeroom teacher, they have an advisory teacher, they all have a counselor, and they have senior advisors. So they do figure it out, but they figure it out with a lot of help.
But not from
School.
us.
It's
Well,
it's
We're
the
gonna
greatest
see questions
thing,
at the
like,
Sorry, and some people walked in a little bit later. I promise we'll have time to get to questions at the end and answer some things. And we're gonna go through what that homeroom what, advisory what, we'll explain what that is in a second. What about you guys? What do you think was the biggest difference between middle school and high school?
For me, it was probably just like kind of learning how to manage my time. So I felt like in middle school, like I absolutely did have homework, but in high school, like it was more. So learning to manage my time at first was difficult, but like I feel like I've definitely gotten on top of it, and it's been like it hasn't been a problem like since like I got on it pretty quickly.
For me, time management too. Like in middle school, I would probably go to practice after like 5:15, go home and do my homework for maybe like an hour at most, then just relax and dinner, just like doing more on watching Netflix. Now it's like nothing like that. Like I literally came here from a track meet, and after go home, I probably like 2 hours of homework. There I go to bed. Like I don't have any time for like myself, so like time management is big for me. That's like when the high school, that's what it's going to really teach me how to work with.
David and Glennis, what do you think are some of the differences academically? How students interact with teachers? What do you two think is what are some of the differences?
Sure. In terms of the differences, in terms of this transition, I do want everyone to know that the teachers are aware of it, that we help students make this leap. The academic demands of high school are different than the academic demands of middle school. Freshman teachers, freshman advisory teachers, and support staff all are aware of that, and we work with kids to help them make that adjustment. There is more homework. Jonah just talked about that. The other thing is some students come in with this sort of, homework doesn't really matter, and all of a sudden homework counts. And it has both academic and grade ramifications, and that's new. There's more independent work. There is less structured, this is how you do it hand-holding. Students more often say, I've got to figure some of this out. And as our two parents wonderfully said, that figuring it out is part of the process. And going through that is really important. One of my mantras is, never do anything for the child that the child can do for herself. We really, as a teacher, I feel like I rob my students of experiences if I do it for them. Jonah talked about how his social studies teacher taught him note-taking. And note-taking becomes one of the big differences in terms of teachers pretty much assume that you're taking notes. Some will give some student structure on how to do that, but most are pretty much assuming that, okay, you know what you're doing and go for it. And so students are going to have to adjust to that and figure that out. There's studying and there's homework. They're different. And it's one of those light bulbs that often happens freshman year when I ask a student, have you studied? Well, I did the homework. That's not the same thing. Preparing for class each day and doing the assignment are two separate processes. Both Jonah and Trula mentioned time management. There's a lot of students coming from middle school into high school are simply juggling more pieces. And doing that juggling is a learning curve. And time management is an important part of that. They both talked about calendaring, planning ahead, assignment sheets. One of the nice things about that planner, it has all the school calendar information. What cycle is today? Is it an altered schedule? Is there an assembly? Are there other events going on? They're all built in. I like that planner. Even if students aren't using it as an assignment notebook, it has the other pieces they can hook into it. And then we have a lot more resources. Whether it's our Academic Resource Center, our phenomenal library. When you come on open house, please stop by our phenomenal library, and of course, the staff themselves.
I also think when we're talking about self-advocacy, when students are absent, the teacher is not going to reach out to the student the student is going to have to reach out to the teacher to make that appointment, to make sure that they understand the material. So really putting much more responsibility on the student to watch the teacher's website, to email whoever they need to email, and to really go to the resource centers if they're having any sort of academic struggles. And I think another real bonus of the high school, there's so many more activities to choose from than there are in the middle school. And the good news is there's a ton of activities, and they get an opportunity to try a lot of different clubs and teams and things to do. But they also have to manage their responsibilities and their time along with that too. So way more opportunities to try different clubs and activities at the high school level.
I'm going to pick up on one thing just because it comes up all the time, and that is absences. I remember we both had students, we were shepherd parents, and I often remember that week before winter break, how many times did you see Finding Nemo? The week before breaks are extremely intense at Deerfield High School. There's a lot of assessments, things are due. Students who miss that time, families leaving early for a holiday or whatever, end up extremely stressed. So we walk in sort of with this idea that, you know, it's no big deal, it's the day before spring break, it's the day after spring break. What's the problem? The problem is the student will have a lot to do, and it's a very different approach to absences because there's a lot of things going on, there's more happening, and those crunch times really do make a big difference.
So kind of like who's there to help and what kind of things do we have in there to help with those things? So one of the first things I want to talk about is homeroom. I really think that homeroom is probably one of the most special things. Sometimes students are like, oh, there's homeroom. So like, what is this period and what's going on there? I think that one of the greatest things about homeroom is on a regular school week, we get to see your kids. They're assigned to a homeroom 4 days of a regular week. So they're within that homeroom for 12 minutes a day. And sometimes it's to read announcements that go on. Other times it's to have conversations with what may be going on in the building or what may be going on in the world. And other times it's just a chance to have a donut and some sugar and just be like, and just chill out. What I think is one of the, I have a sophomore actually, Shula is in my homeroom. What I think is one of the greatest parts about being a homeroom teacher and being a part of that homeroom is that you are with them their very first day of school, and you are the first person to greet them after they've received their diploma. Because you get to, as they walk off the stage, we sit by homerooms. I'll just warn you right now, if you get me, yes, my last name is Versario, so that means we're in the back, I'm sorry. And they realize that probably around like sophomore-ish year, sometimes junior year, they go, wait a minute, we're the Versario homeroom. And I go, yeah, we are, I'm so sorry. So they're like, oh, we have to sit there for so long and wait. I'm like, yes, it's true. So, but, I mean, it is one of, save the best for last, absolutely. At least we're not Zima. So, you know, but I think that one of the, like, that's kind of like one of the cool things. They're coming off the stage with their diploma for the first time, and we're right there to say, give a hug, a high five, a fist bump, whatever it is, and be like, congrats. And that's what I think is really cool from day one to the last day. So that's homeroom. That is all 4 years on a typical week, 4 days a week for 12 minutes. Then there's advisory. And I know that how many people went to 8th grade curriculum night back in January. So you got to kind of hear about what advisory is. There's multiple different kinds of advisory, and I know you've already signed up and registered. There's everything from a regular advisory to what I teach, a theater advisory to what David teaches, and then we also have some other fine arts advisories like music and things like band, orchestra, choral. Advisory is only for freshman year. Now that is a required class for freshmen. It is a full period every day, except for on a cycle day when that class doesn't meet. And I think that advisory is a great opportunity for first to learn some of those skills. We go through stuff like organizing, note-taking, go through kind of little things like that. When we talk about the principal comes in, the deans come in, different other kind of, their counselor comes in and talks with them. And that's a great opportunity for that teacher to work with those students. What I personally think the best part of advisory is the senior advisor program. So juniors, in their junior year, students apply to be a senior advisor, and then they're chosen, and then they're worked into the schedule. So each advisory has a minimum of 2 senior advisors. They're 2 kids, they're not getting any credit for it. They're there because they want to be there and they want to help. We always get a huge turnout of seniors that want to be a part of the program. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm sure there's a little bit of that for their resume for to stay at colleges, but they also just love kind of being a part of that, and they remember who their seniors were and how they helped them. It also takes kind of away that whole seniors are scary kind of thing, because they've already got their very first day of school. Actually, at their orientation, they already know 2 seniors. And so they're really committed to being there and being a part of that group and helping the freshmen. And they can help with things that I physics can't even begin to help them with during advisory, but that they're really good at doing. So I think, do you guys want to add something about that? Because I see you're smiling.
Oh, I got really, Mr. Hirsch, my theater advisory teacher. I got super lucky. I have the 3 best advisors ever. Okay, they're so good. But like, when they experienced everything, like they had the classes that I take, so I can ask them questions like how the schedule works, how are these classes, like what are the tests like, and they can answer because they like experience. Like teachers, like Mr. Hirsch can't answer every question like how is world history going to be like this year. But since the seniors already took those classes, they can help me. They're like a big help.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I also had 3 excellent senior advisors, and they're really just like a really great source of guidance. And I don't know, it's nice to see like A, the familiar faces in the halls that are seniors, but B, like I felt like I could come to them about school advice. I could also come like to them about, I remember asking one of my senior advisors for advice about one of my extracurricular activities, and I found it to be really helpful. And so I don't know, they're a really good resource.
I want to emphasize that with homeroom and advisory, what we're really doing is we're building a team behind the kids. They have a set of allies. Now, I've had several homerooms, and I'm really lucky because I have a co-homeroom teacher. So we sort of have the 2 of us as a tag team there. We don't give these students grade. There's no curricular material. We're another place to go to help problem solve. Similarly, our senior advisors, their counselors, their advisory teachers are yet another adult helper to whom they can turn when they need additional assistance.
So Glynis, we've talked just a little bit about like those are kind of like during the day things, homeroom and advisory. What's kind of like the counselor role during the day to help students? And what would you add to that?
So every student will have a counselor for 4 years, and we all will meet our freshmen individually through that first quarter and into the start of second quarter. So we're really working hard to make sure that we know all of our students, we know them by name, we know what activities they're going to try to get involved in. So that's kind of the start of the year. And then as we move into the year, we will do 4-year planning together so that they'll have an idea of how they're going to meet their graduation requirements, and a lot of information about the courses that we offer and the wide range of courses that we offer in each department. So they'll get a really good education about that. They'll create their own plan, and you'll be part of that process as well. And then that moves us into the winter where we start with sophomore registration. So the year kind of moves very quickly. The counselors are highly involved in freshman advisory and highly involved with each individual freshman student.
So, and I think that one of the great things is that although Glynis isn't my counselor this year for my advisory, I have another counselor. And so once a month, especially in the first half of the year, we meet. So during one of the periods, there's a sub for me in the class with the students, and myself and the 2 seniors once a month meet with the counselor. And it's really a time to be like, we know what's going on in classes, if there's any issues, if their grades are slipping, because that's a great way for myself or the seniors in class to be like, hey Shula, how's that math class going? And they're like, oh, you know about that, huh? And we're like, yeah, we do. They learn about that pretty quickly. The freshmen realize that we know things, and we're kind of there to help. And that's what I think is a great thing. The senior's there to kind of help out and can help guide the freshmen and be like, listen, I know math is hard right now, or I know this may be difficult, let me help you out. And let me be assistant. So they're kind of there.
Or use that time to go to the academic resource
Correct.
center to get additional.
Right. And so I think that that's what's so great. There is a very close relationship and communication between the counselor and the advisory teacher. Also, teachers will go and look and see who the advisory teacher is, and will sometimes reach out to that person and say, hey, listen, I never got Johnny's assignment from last night. Can you help out here? Or there's a big test, I'm a little worried. Can you do something in advisory and kind of help out with that? That kind of communication happens all the time between us. Parents, did we miss anything that as a parent from like the advisory or homeroom standpoint that you wanted to add to?
I don't think so. Both are great resources.
So we kind of like talked about what goes on kind of like during the day to kind of help your student. I'm just skip to number 4, I'll go back to number 3. So let's talk about kind of like, what about outside too? So how are some ways your student can become acclimated with the building, or how are some ways, I don't think it's on your agenda, it's on mine, you don't have to. Sorry, I was just telling them, don't think I skipped something, we've got a little thing here so we don't stay on track. So, and I whispered to the two of them because I didn't know this information. One of the great things to do before, if you're into sports and you're an athletic kind of kid, is being involved in athletics. Athletics season starts before the school year even begins. So Shula and Jonah both were involved in a fall sport. So can you talk about what did you do over the summer, what happened, or?
Well, so over the summer, I did football and basketball camps over the summer. And so for basketball, it was from 12 to 2 maybe. Football was from 8 to 12, which is a lot longer. And then I was just a freshman for varsity from 6 to 30. But it's like you just kind of like you build a relationship with your teammates and then like kids from other schools, so you get to meet new people, and it just like helps you build relationships. And then it like helps you lead into the fall season. So for football, out for the whole season, not for the full injury, something outside of that. And so the practices for each season that I've been in have been very different. Like for football, I ended at 6. After basketball, it was like 5:30, and after track, it's like 5. So like each sport's very different. Like, but I feel like this sports over the summer, like the camps and everything, like helps so much. Cause like you get to learn the coaches, and some of the coaches like work in school, so like you get to meet some of your teachers already. So it's a big help.
Yeah, I am not a 3-sport athlete like Jonah. I'm actually like, people who know me well know I'm not like a huge athlete in general, but as like coming as a freshman, I really wanted to find a way to get involved through sports, and I really am so happy I did that. So freshman year, I was part of the field hockey team, and even though we didn't win any games or score any goals, it was still fun. It was very fun. I met some of my best friends from high school through field hockey and through the like summer sports camp that was like the June after I finished 8th grade. And I thought it was a great opportunity. I didn't end up doing it again just because of other things, but I was so glad I did it freshman year, and I really felt like especially the team aspect was really a great way to help me kind of get used to high school. And also, I found that like after having to get used to like the new schedule with the fall sport, it became so much easier when it ended. And by that time, I like kind of got in a groove. So that's like the time management piece. I thought it also helped a lot. It gave some structure.
Parents, did either one of your kids do anything, sports camps or fall sports? Do you think that helped them at all if they did?
Yes, I actually have. Both my kids did both the camps. They run the camps the week or 2 before overnight camps start. So even if your kids go to overnight camps, they can still be involved in some of these summer camps. My daughter also did field hockey, and sadly had the same experience. It wasn't the best team, but what was nice is my daughter is not an athlete, and some of these sports freshman year are walk-ons, so she was able to feel that feeling of being on a team. She did do the camp in the summer and then walked on and was on the freshman field hockey team. So I agree, it was a great, and I also agree with the time management piece, because the beginning of the year with my son played football and my daughter played field hockey, they were every day after school in practices until 6. So they had to come home, shower, do their homework, and when their seasons were over and they were, had all this time on their hands, they realized how much time they needed to get their homework done. It was a great tool. I would strongly suggest it.
And my daughter's a winter and spring sport, so she didn't do any of the summer camps. But I agree with the whole thing. When you have an activity after school, it almost helps you with your time management. Because with some kids, the more time they have, their time management is just not as good. It really helps you whether you're involved with clubs or sports or other things after school. It really helps teach them how to manage their time.
And it doesn't have to be sports.
I was just gonna say, my older daughter never did a sport all 4 years, not to worry, she didn't, there's plenty to do, sports is just one avenue.
I mean, one of the activities that our kids really like is tech theater, where they're building sets and learning how to do lights and so much of the behind the scenes for their 2 fall shows. So there's plenty of work to do in tech theater, but there's also a huge number of clubs that meet both either in the morning or after school. So if your child is not an athlete or doesn't want to try something in that direction, we have plenty to choose from.
I was really saving the best for last. I was going to talk about athletics first, and then. But no, I mentioned athletics first and started with that because they are IHSA regulated, and they do have a start date. And what I want to share with you, because they're separate and they're different. Athletics you can find. Robert Ruiz is our athletics director. The information is online on the athletics site. You can look and see when tryouts or when things start, sports camp, tryout dates, that kind of thing. If a sport has a tryout or not. Sometimes they do for varsity, but not for freshmen. Some are walk-ons, some are not. But all that information is online on the athletics site. Coaches are also really great to help with that time management and keep kids organized. And then we have our activities program. Most of our activities program doesn't begin until after the school year has started. Usually we kind of like wait, let the kids see if they're in a sport, let them kind of like get in the building, and then our sponsors take place. We have throughout the year, we have close to, I believe it's 30 or 28 or 29 different athletic programs, and we have close to 70 different clubs and activities. So as I always like to say, we are better than 31 flavors. There's a lot to choose from and a lot of things to get involved in. Again, there's an activities website with all that information on it too. A lot of information about activities will come out in the fall. I also go and visit, I'm telling you right now, I go and visit, and Robert will go and visit for the winter season, right before it. I go and visit every single advisory. We play a Kahoot game, I give away prizes, but it's to talk about what goes on in activities at Deerfield High School. Did you win something?
I won.
Oh, keychain, and what'd you win?
I don't remember what I won, I just remember winning the and it's really
Yeah.
exciting.
So, like, there's lots of kind of like fun things that we do to try and get them involved. The seniors are there also too to help them, but we go through and let them know, here's what we have to offer. A majority of our activities are not tryout, but we do have some that are. And so I'm going to come out and say it right away. It is a disappointment for an 8th grader to try out for something, that first kind of thing, and not make it. And I know that that's hard. And it's only a handful of things, but like what I ask for parents' help with kind of with that is to talk about the disappointment in that, but that, so there may be like for freshmen 5 things that are tryout, but that means there's like 65 other things that aren't to get involved in. So even though your heart may be set on that one thing you didn't get in, or that a couple sports that might be tryouts for them, there's so many other things. And there'll be a lot of times we find out for kids, I'm actually like so glad I didn't make it because of that I found this and now I'm really dedicated to that. And that happens a lot.
Called resilience.
Yes.
And you need, one of the things that your freshman advisory teachers will do, and we do in all of the advisories regardless of the flavor, is we try to make certain students are finding their home at Deerfield High School, which is often not academic. So we want to know, what are you trying in terms of a sport or an activity? And when students are struggling with that, their senior advisors and freshman advisory teachers will often end up in sort of a matchmaker role and say, let's try this, why don't you try that? Our daughter started out and was a 4-year athlete in one sport, but it wasn't until sophomore year that she found tech theater. On the off season, she happened to wander in, and to this day, looks at me as one of the theater teachers and said, why didn't you make me do that sooner? So I tried. So sometimes we have to be a little bit patient as they try some different things until they find that fit in that direction.
And so then for you, I think kind of like that connection can be if you realize it's come October, November, and your kid just wants to watch Netflix and isn't doing anything, you've already know a couple of resources. So give that advisory teacher, send that advisory teacher an email and say, hey, could you connect with my kid? They're not listening to me, I'm trying, but sometimes mom or dad in one ear out the other. There's a counselor that you can call and say, hey, my kid's not involved in anything, can you help try? There's the homeroom teacher, there's the activities director or Robert Reed's athletics director to connect with to say, hey, can you help my kid out? Because we're happy to help with those kind of things.
But I think it's helpful to go home tonight and talk to your child about what they do want to participate in, and it just needs to be one thing. You know, go to the activities in the athletic website, come up with one thing that you want to participate in starting in September. I think that's a really good conversation.
So I'm one of the first people that your child will hear from at which is the next we're going to talk about, which is the Warrior Welcome. And the one thing that I say to them is exactly what Glenna said, is that I just say, my hope for you is if you find one thing here that you don't need a resume of 20 different activities in sports. I want you to find something here that makes you smile and makes you happy. I want you to find something here that you can connect with that isn't just a class. I hope you find classes that will do that too, but something in that outside. Give me, because I know you're both involved in a couple different things. Tell them real quick, what's the one thing you really connect with that you love that's outside of academics at DHS?
For me, it's been student council. I found that really, I love it.
Yeah, I'm also on student council. It's just like its own community. There's like about 100 people. And you just become friends with all of them. You say hi to them in the hallways, and it's like a great thing. I think
Like that, and that is one of the things that is like an application based, but there's so many other activities, like I'm involved in others that I also love. That's just been like the one thing that's really clicked for me.
Okay. So Warrior Welcome. I think that information has gone home to you guys, and Glynis is going to talk to you a little bit about some of those dates, but I think you should have them, and I think they're also, I see a calendar, so things might be on there too. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Do you want to start? I can chime in too.
Let me start with the date, because I don't know that you've gotten a lot of information about Warrior Welcome, but it's going to be Monday, August 21st. This is on your calendar sheet that I gave you. On the one side is sort of the big calendar of dates. It looks like this. That's the big calendar of when vacations are. You must know when vacations are. And then the other is just a list of important dates right at the beginning of the school year. And it does list, for example, when the tryouts are for sports and the different sports. But Warrior Welcome, Monday, August 21st from 7 to 8:30. We would love to have you there, you and your students. The students have just a rousing time in the gym, and we're really going to try to teach them a lot about what they need to know and get them excited about coming to high school and try to cut down on that anxiety of the start of the high school experience. So that's what the kids will be doing, and they'll be with their advisory teachers and their seniors for that portion of the program, and then the parents will meet with their assigned counselor. So we're going to give you a lot of information, again, about ourselves and about how the counseling practices, and what it's going to be like throughout that freshman year. So that's Warrior Welcome, and again, we'd love to have you there with your student.
So for a couple of you, if you have, this is the second year that we've kind of changed the format a little bit. Freshmen have their own book sale date, and that is during the day. So it's going to be juniors and seniors on one day, and freshmen and sophomores on another. And those dates are...
Those I don't have.
Okay. And I'm pretty sure I can find them real quick when someone else talks in a minute. Because I'm sorry, I forgot to bring that.
I want to say maybe the 17th or 18th.
I'll find out. We'll find out exactly in a second. But so there's Warrior Welcome at night, and then there's book sale during the day.
16th.
I'm sorry.
16th.
The 16th.
For freshmen and sophomores?
I have freshmen, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this the 16th of August. So some people say, and knowing that 21st date, I've had a couple people say to me, I've gotten phone calls before and say, my family's supposed to go on vacation, or I'm not going to be here. And this is what I'm going to say to you, and I know sometimes family vacations are already planned. I get it, it's not the end-all be-all. And if your child cannot be there, whether they're sick or you have a family vacation or something's come up that they can't be there, we understand. I will say to you though, I think it's really important for your kid to be there if they can. I think it's a great way for them to first, before that school bell ever rings, it's a great way to meet probably around at least 20-something kids. They all know they have a class together. Usually in kind of their first meeting, we talk about like, all right, wait, who's got lunch together? Know a name, know a friend. They kind of feel a little bit better about it. They get to know before they walk in that building that first day. They're going to know who their 2 senior friends are, at least 2 seniors. And they're kind of going to get that we're all in this together kind of feeling, because there's all 400 of them together, and kind of so they kind of realize I'm actually not in this alone. I'm not the only one. So if you can be back or be available for that 21st date, I think it's really important. But we understand that sometimes those things become, and there is no way to recreate that. There's no way to recreate that feeling of all the freshmen being together in the room and kind of learning from that kind of experience. So just to kind of like go off that, those are some of the kind of things that we're doing, including this, including extracurricular night that happened a few weeks ago. These are all some of the things we've done to kind of like get your kid ready to be at DHS. Do you want to talk about some other dates on there real quick?
Sure, let me just highlight a couple more dates for you, and again, it's on the handout. We think schedules are going to be available on Infinite Campus around August 11th. And that's kind of a fun day when kids get their schedules. Maybe you guys could talk about that. I've never seen so many kids type so fast what their schedule is and try to figure out who's in which classes. Do you want to talk a little bit about schedule distribution?
Yeah, I remember like, obviously not everyone is on Facebook, but I remember like having, like posting my schedule on Facebook and seeing other people's schedules. I kept a list of who's in each class. I knew, like walking in, if I knew of somebody I could sit with, or if I had a friend, it would like helped a lot to know who was in which class, and even just to text my friends like who weren't necessarily on Facebook also.
Yeah, well, for me it was like, I just like didn't want to know everyone's schedule, but like at the same time you do, because you want to be in class with, but there's so many people that ask you, what's your schedule, what's your schedule? And when the first time I read the schedule, I was so confused, because like it says what days you have the classes, and like I didn't know what 100, 7, 8, all these like numbers meant, and like the lunches, so it was so confusing. But then eventually actually looking at other people's schedules helping me like figure it out. And then once you know if you have like people that you're friends with in your class, it makes it like a lot easier to go to. It just makes it like an easy experience.
So August 11th, kind of a crazy day. The first full day of school will be Wednesday, August 23rd. And again, it will be a full day of school, and that's when kids will also get their Chromebooks. And then the kickoff dance and first home football game will be Friday, August 25th, starting right after school. Very fun event.
It's a very fun event. I think that that's one of the kind of the first things, like, I think it's kind of scary a little bit for kids to be like, wait, I'm 2 days into school and now you want me to go to a dance. Don't think about that as like a dance. It's actually, what we've done is, for the past couple of years, is kind of switch that up a little bit to try and also increase school spirit. The kickoff dance happens on the very first home football game, and it goes from 4:30 to 6:30. And we're on the baseball field next to Adams Field, and then we kind of all go together from there to the first home football game. So there's DJs, there's food, snacks, there's all kinds of the kids come up with. I'm meeting with them next week to talk about all the other kind of things they want to add. Sometimes it's bouncy houses, sometimes it's, why can't I think of that, bagel game, thank you. You know, like it's different kind of things that they want to do. So like we're all on the football stadium, don't talk to the, I'm sorry, it's all on the baseball field. The baseball coach gets a little bit mad at me, but I always say, you're a spring sport. The grass will be fine by the time. So he's fine. So
students don't have to have a date for the dance. In fact, the word dance, it's almost more like a party.
yeah.
Right, and kids come by themselves with a group and really are absorbed into the larger group. They meet people there. It's really a wonderful chance to have a social.
Our typical attendance is around 1,000 kids. So yes, so when your kid says no one's going, that's not true. So it's typically around 1,000 people. So depending on what's going on and everything, but I have a feeling with that, like kind of 2 days in, are usually when it's that first week, attendance is usually even more. And coaches encourage them to go, sponsors, different things like that. They'll be encouraging advisory and stuff to go too. But that's another kind of way to kind of like be a part of that.
So one other thing I want to mention to you is our freshman morning parent program. We've been doing this for many years, and so all of the support that we've talked about for the students that is put in place, this program is for you. It's for the parents, it's run by the counseling department, it's 3 times a year, and so this first meeting right around Wednesday, October 25th, we're going to walk you through that 4-year planning process. We're going to talk to you about how your students should be preparing for finals. There's a lot of really good information, how to, David gets up and talks about how to talk with teachers once that first report card comes out. If you see any sort of concerning information on that report card, how to reach out to the teacher to get more information. So that those freshman morning parent programs, we hope that you can attend because it really is meant to help you navigate your child's freshman year as well.
Parents, did I miss anything of kind of like those kind of like couple beginning things that were helpful for you, or did you get to go to any of those parent meetings at all in the mornings?
So for my older daughter, I went to every counseling department meeting, which I loved, and I was the parent taking notes. This time around, the few I've missed because of work, but they always post the information after the meeting, which is really helpful. My biggest suggestion to you is just get to know the website. I mean, there's tons of information. We went to the Warrior Welcome, so all really good resources. But the counseling department, as a new parent to DHS, the meetings were great.
And so I think that's, you get, and then there's things like the PTO, the Deerfield Parent Network. There's ways for you to get involved so that you can find out things. Friends of the Arts. There's the boosters. So whatever kind of like, there's a bunch of different parent organizations, whatever kind of way that you want to get involved to be a part of, we hope that you do. Because although we do want your kids to learn independence, we do need you to be involved as well too in things. So there's lots of different parent organizations. Again, like she said, look at that website. There's a whole page on our parent organizations, who they are, what they do, how you can get involved. I know you have a fancy little saying.
The Warrior Way?
Well, you do have the Warrior Way, but that wasn't, you have your jar.
Your jar?
Your jar. So you want to talk about your jar of goodies?
Sure. You know, when we talk about jar, the first thing is to join. And Brian was really just talking about that. You know, joining the Deerfield Parent Network, joining the PTO, joining Friends of the Arts, the Booster Club. It's a great way for you to know what's going on in the high school in a variety of ways. And what you're going to find is your kids just aren't going to tell you that much. You'll ask them lots of questions and you might get a grunt or yeah, maybe, or I don't know. So it's a great way for you to be involved. Attend. Really important for you to attend what the high school offers. I can't stress that enough. Even if your kids, for example, your child isn't in theater, it's great for you to go and support the theater and things that we're showing at the high school. Go to the football games, have a great time, but you really need to attend. And one gem that I think doesn't necessarily get mentioned often enough is several times throughout the year, the PTO runs lunch with the principal. It's a great way for you to have an opportunity to ask your questions, maybe talk about any concerns, hear what other parents are asking of the principal. Those will get calendared, you'll see them on the calendar. It's just a great opportunity to go and listen, ask your questions, and get to know Kathy Anderson. She's new this year, and so, you know, she's learning the Deerfield traditions as well. And then read. You're going to get lots and lots of emails from us. And so it's really important that you pay attention to the things that get put out from the high school so that you don't miss out on any opportunities or miss out on knowing what's going on. So that's your.
That's right.
Bless you.
Glynis, what do you think? So we've kind of like talked about where the kids get to know. So what about when do they get to know or meet their counselor? When does that happen, and how does that happen?
So the kids will meet their counselor through freshman advisory throughout, like I said, first quarter and into part of second.
I misspoke. I meant to say when do they, the parents, get to meet
the
the
parents.
counselor? So when is their first opportunity to meet them?
That happens at Warrior Welcome. We will see you there that night and we'll talk you through what your child's experience is going to be, and you'll have an opportunity to ask questions. And I believe, is there a tour that's also, or do they get a chance to walk?
So yeah, there's going to be a chance that night, and you're going to get those kind of details about Warrior Welcome, but there's a chance that we'll have senior advisors and peer helpers and other people around that building to kind of help navigate that.
And also, I forgot to mention, on August 11th, when your child gets their schedule, you and your child can come into the building at any time during the day and walk that schedule over and over and over again as many times as you like until they feel comfortable with knowing their way around the building.
That's another one they get fairly quick. The building feels very large initially and very different. And truly within a week, if not less, they know exactly where they're going, and they know the other areas that perhaps they do not have classes.
Parents, what do you think? So we've kind of talked a lot about like academics and then some of the extracurricular stuff, but what about kind of like the social aspect? What's kind of like your advice, or what do you have to say about getting to know their kids' friends and parents and that kind of stuff, the social stuff?
Good question. I don't know, I think it's just straightforward. Talk to your kid. You know, I would like to say that things don't change. They change a little, but my experience has been freshman year, at least first semester, they sort of moved in the same groups as they did in middle school, and then second semester you're hearing about new kids that they're meeting in their classes and on their sports or in their clubs. But keeping the lines of communication open with your kid socially.
I think the neat thing is that my daughter has made friends whether it's a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, you know, she talks about kids of all ages, and it's just nice once they get to high school, like, they branch out, they talk to kids that they maybe went to middle school with, but they never were friends with them until high school. So I just think it's really nice that there's just a wider variety, you know, of kids, and they get to know them through classes and clubs and activities and all that stuff.
Do you guys, do your parents know who you're with, what you're doing, where you're going, all that kind of good stuff?
My parents do, but I probably, like, I have very, like, open communication. Like, I'm like a pretty good reporter on that stuff, but.
Okay, so wait, let me ask you this, because I think parents want to know, well, why do you think you have a good open communication with your parents?
I mean, for me, like, I just, like, always have my parents just, like, they trust me a lot, so I think that's really good. It's kind of, like, mutual, and I know that that kind of helps, like, in terms of honesty.
Okay. Well, for me, my parents know where I am all the time, because I can't drive yet. My brother, she always checks, like, does find my iPhone. But also, a good way for communication, my parents don't do so well, is approach. They're kind of just very upfront, and it's like a little annoying how like you're just like, upfront with it. If they like went like a different approach, like took it in like a different way, it might not be like, I might like tell them more, but they're just like very like, who'd you do like blah 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 blah. Just like go into it like slower.
Advice from freshmen, right? That's awesome. That's great. No, I think it's sometimes nice for parents to hear from somebody who's not their kid, but how to communicate and talk, and I think it's important.
But let me just say though, make that phone call when your kids are going somewhere else, and I would strongly encourage you to find out if a parent is going to be home and if they're going to keep a watchful eye on what's happening. Very, very important for you to make those phone calls, make those alliances with your kids' friends, parents, so that you trust that they are going to be safe wherever they are. It's really important that you do that.
And I think, would you, like, parents do talk to each other? Do they? Or in your circle?
Yes and no.
Okay. Can you elaborate a little, or do you think like?
Well, you know, it's harder as they make newer friends. The parents are no longer people you've grown up with. So there are friends of my kids now whose I don't know parents.
I agree with that.
And how do you handle that?
I haven't had to yet.
I think it's more of my relationship with my daughter.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
you know, the trust that we have and the guidelines that we've set with her, she knows like what she's expected to do. So I think it's more about, you know, the open lines of communication and, you know, what you set up with your child in terms of what you expect from them.
And I think that's one of the like kind of the great things about being freshmen is they can't drive yet. So you still get to usually know where they are because they still usually need your help getting to that other place.
Offer to drive carpool.
Right.
Offer to do it, because even though it's kind of a pain sometimes, you're still gonna find out more information, you're gonna know who's in your vehicle, you're gonna maybe see some of those same kids over and over and over again. So don't shy away from that opportunity to really sort of hear what they're talking about when they think you're not listening.
So kind of another beginning of the year thing that happens is homecoming. This year, homecoming is not an easy thing to schedule because it's all based around when you get home football games. This year it is super early. So homecoming week begins on September 5th with the home football game being September 8th and the homecoming dance being September 9th. So yes, that means 2 weeks into school, the third week begins homecoming week. Yes, that's fast. And it always, that causes some, in my 10 years of being in high school now, it's never been this early before. But unfortunately, it was the best date that we had. But it is a really fun week. And I know that it probably is the most difficult for freshmen for a couple of reasons. Every day is a dress-up day. Do people dress up? Well, yeah, okay. People dress up and have fun. I know that it's really like, kind of like, especially for some of the shyer, quieter, like, wait, I'm supposed to dress up as a cowboy today? Yeah, right. That's not happening. But we do. Staff get involved and dress up. It's a lot of fun. Homecoming week is great. I think what's so awesome about that is it's a 4-day week this year. So they're going to come in on that Tuesday because we have Labor Day is off on Monday, the 4th. So they'll come in on that Tuesday. The school will be decorated from floor to ceiling. Each different hallway has a different theme. So there's going to be different dress-up days for every day of the week. And then they'll get to know about all the different kind of things that are going on that week. It kind of culminates at the end with now that we have a brand new huge gymnasium. Last year was for the first time ever that we had our during the day pep rally where we could actually all be together. Before it used to, like most schools get to be. So it was like our first time in the history of the school that we've gotten really, well the first, but in a long time.
There are some people in this room.
It's been a long time.
We did this together.
Right, yeah. But since we've gotten this big, we haven't had a chance to actually be together. So it's actually really, really nice to kind of have all the staff, all the students together for our pep rally on Friday the 8th. The home football game is that night. Yes, kids do go. Yes, families do go. If you've never been to one of our home football games, they're packed. It's a lot of fun. Please come to them. Please come to all of the kind of activities and sports that we have or performances. They're really a blast. And then Saturday night is our homecoming dance at school. So it's a lot of fun. We hope you encourage your students to come. They don't need a date. A lot of people come with friends. They go singles, they go doubles, they go whatever, but they come. What I always like try to, especially to talk to freshmen, and when I have freshman parents together, is to try your hardest to stay away from turning homecoming night almost into their honeymoon, an extravaganza that is crazy. I mean, I can't tell you how many phone calls. Yeah, the limos and the buses, and then, well, first we're gonna go to pictures here, and then we're gonna go have dinner, and then we're gonna go to dance, and then we're gonna go to bouncy house, and then we're gonna go for pizza, and I'm not kidding, these things happen. And I try and say, you have control of that, number one, because most freshmen don't have jobs, so you're paying for it, and you're the one who have to rent and go get those places. So we say, like, it starts with you, there at home, get them, this is what we're doing. And if, like, you all say no together, you can, like, kind of, like, get that under control a little bit. But that's, you know, parent decision. But we hope that, you know, the kids will come, enjoy the dance, have a good time, maybe plan one more activity for afterwards. But remember, they're 14, and it's homecoming. And so they really do, when they're all together, have a really good time. They want to go and plan all these million different things to do, but really, you know this, when they're just together, the whole group, doesn't matter what they're doing, they have a good time together, and they really do. So just want to encourage that and get that plug out now. Please try to remember that in August when you're being bombarded with phone calls. And I have parents help me, and I'm like, I can't help you. Like, what? I don't know what to do. I'm trying. So, but we're hopeful that you can hear that. What other kind of things did we miss before we kind of go into some Mythbusters that we wanted to kind of say? Is there anything you wanted to touch upon before we have a list of myths that we want to talk about. So before we do that, anybody on the panel want to say something?
I've said this to other audiences and my two students here. It's all about relationships. And one of the things that students have told me, and Shula and Jonah let me know if I'm going in the right direction, is that students build relationships with their counselor, with their teacher, with their coaches, and these are ongoing relationships. And students are used to having some more distance from the teacher, from these staff members, from the adults, and learning how to do that. How if there is one adult and one student passing in the hallway, we greet each other. And that's really new sometimes, like, I don't have that teacher, and that teacher just spoke to me. Whoa. That's important, and that cultivating those relationships, that even though I'm now a sophomore, and I'm not with that teacher every day, or I'm no longer on the field hockey team, that relationship's not over, and that we still have that connection, not just because we're part of a community together, but also because we've worked together. And I think that when we come down to how do teachers, students, and staff members interact, it's all about this relationship. Our education, the activities, the sports, it's all built on that. And that may be one of the most important things your freshmen are going to learn as they make the leap to high school.
And one of the things that I wanted to share with you tonight is they only get to go through high school once. And I really hope that they can enjoy it and you can enjoy it. And that you don't wish the years away or try to make it go any faster than it does, because it's really a tremendous experience. They're coming into a great high school, and to really try to enjoy the 4 years and not spend all your time worrying about what's next or the following year, to really try to enjoy that experience with them.
Anything you want to add? Well, I'm going to come back to you for something else, but anything else you want to say right now? So before you say the Mythbusters, you have one thing and I have one thing. What's the one thing you don't want them to focus or worry about right now?
College. Don't worry about college.
Right. Your kids are in 8th grade. You don't need to worry about college yet. Okay? And here's what I'm going to say. Here's another thing that I get asked sometimes a lot about at 8th grade. Well, I want to make sure that my kid gets into the Deerfield Honor Society. And I'm like, they're in 8th grade. They don't have to worry about that yet. Like, don't get involved or do things to worry about something that happens years later. Have them get involved and do things because it's something that they want to do and that they love.
Absolutely. And the whole college piece, Again, we will walk you through every bit of it, starting sophomore year. Towards the end of sophomore year, we have a program for students and their parents. We are going to give you every bit of information that you're going to need to help your student make a really good choice. And probably no high school does it better than us, I think, in terms of the whole post-high school planning process.
All right, myth buster. You want to be a myth buster?
I can be a myth buster.
Okay.
No elevator passes. We don't give anybody elevators. We don't sell them. We don't shove kids into lockers. That does not happen. As a matter of fact, I think we take really, really good care of our freshmen. The building is actually not that big, believe it or not. You'll walk in and get lost maybe for that first time. Your kids figure it out quickly. The building actually isn't that big. We talked about students figuring out their cycle schedule, and that will happen. And Susie talked about this, about your kids will probably stick with their friends from middle school, probably through that first semester, maybe even through that first year. But then you'll start to hear new names and see new kids come through your house. And that's where their friendships start to expand, mostly through the activities that they're doing. And so I think that that's really healthy.
Any other tips or tricks or anything?
Well, I got lots of tips. Say no when something doesn't sound right to you. If it sounds kind of fishy, or if it sounds like it's not age appropriate, it really is okay to say no to spring break in Mexico. No to a limo at homecoming, and no to boy-girl sleepovers if that's not comfortable for you. It really is okay to say no, and your kids will respect you for it. Try not to host a big party. There are lots and lots of issues with hosting parties where lots of kids come and things might not go the way that you had hoped they would. So I would encourage you, you certainly could do the pictures for homecoming. You certainly can have some kids over at your house, and I encourage you to do that. But try to avoid hosting a large party. Talked about carpooling. One of the things that David and I found is ISBN numbers for books. Books are very, very expensive, and I think a lot more of the classes are going away from textbooks. There's more online, but if your student has a very big biology textbook, you can look, we will post the ISBN numbers on the DHS website, and you can buy probably that book in many other places for a lot less money.
We saved enough money with both kids buying the books used, and they were in very good condition, especially with a couple of them that are doorstops. They're just enormous. So we had bought real cheap ones and bought two. One at home and one at school. Don't have to schlep the thing. We all know the kids with the big backpacks. Let's see what we can do.
Oh, they're writing that down. I got it.
Textbook comparison. Price comparison.
One thing I think, now that some of our freshmen are 15, they're already looking towards driving. It really is important for you to figure out where that is going to happen. If they're going to do it during freshman year, traffic safety in school, in summer school between freshman and sophomore year, if they're going to do it sophomore year in school, or if you're going to do it privately. So there are a lot of different options for traffic safety. It's really important to look ahead and figure out where that works in their schedule too, because sometimes they're so busy in one part of the year that you may have to do traffic safety in a different part of the year. We've talked, I've mentioned Infinite Campus a couple of times. That's our student record system. That's how you're going to find out about grades. That's how you're going to get teacher comments. That's how you're going to find out about attendance. And you even can find out what your child had for lunch. So Infinite Campus is something that's going to be very important to all of you. We will talk you through about what to look for. And I would say maybe once a week, looking at Infinite Campus, not a whole lot more than that, because teachers are loading in grades, kids are watching their Infinite Campus. looking for grade updates. It's a good tool, but it also can be overused when you're constantly watching for updates. Please do not text your child during the school day. Please do not do that. Let them go to school, go to class, problem solve with their counselor, with their advisory teacher. They don't need to rely on you all day long for that communication. And also, it's just not healthy. So we really encourage you to avoid doing that on a daily basis. And as David talked about earlier, if there's any way for you to avoid taking them out of school for vacations, for doctor's appointments, I know orthodontists only work during the school day, but if you can avoid it, because if you think about it, every class is an hour. If they miss an hour of instruction, they have to figure out how to do that work on their own at home at night, or use the resource center the next day. They're constantly trying to come from behind. So if there's any way to avoid taking them out of school, please try. A lot of the other tips are in the handout that you have, so you can read it at your leisure.
So before I open up to questions to the audience, I'm going to ask one more thing. I'll let y'all think about it for a minute because I'll answer it first. But I want you to say, what's the one thing you wish you knew before, so you can answer it as a parent, as a counselor, as a teacher, however you want. But what's the one thing you wish you knew going into that freshman year? And like for me, what I want to say, what I wish that kids knew was, you're not alone in this. There's 400 and something of you. When people say to me, well, like, my kid says no one else is doing this, or they're not going to do that. And you can compare this to any, at Deerfield High School, last year, so we take their IDs when they come to events and when they're involved in stuff, and we scan them. They kind of get used to it and actually like getting scanned at certain things. I have these little scanners, they keep them. So I collect a lot of data of what's involved, and we have over a 95% involvement rate at Deerfield High School. Over 95% of our students, that was our last year's data, I don't have this year's yet, but over 95% of our kids were involved at something at Deerfield High School. That's huge. And if you go and look in Google what's extracurricular involvement or whatever schools, you're going to find the national and even state average, or even around us, it's nowhere near that. So they're not alone. Go out and try something. Give it a shot. That's the only way you're going to know. So we can start at either end. I don't care. We can popcorn through it with who's got something that they wish they knew. Go ahead.
Everything about homework. Like how much you have and how important it is. Homework is so important. For world history, if I got 50 out of 100 on all my tests and I did all my homework, I'd still have a B in class. That's how important homework is. There's just so much points that go into homework. And how much you have, like it's kind of time management and organization. There's just like a lot of homework, especially in like certain classes. You have to like prioritize. Certain classes where there was like world history, I'll sometimes put over physics because I'll be able to do physics quicker, like in my half free period I have, so I'll get my world history done first. So if I don't have enough time, I can get that like half in my half free period, I can get it done. But I can't do all my world history homework in that little half free period I have for physics. So I can that's just prioritizing it's very big.
Cool.
Yeah, so I actually have just a couple things going along with what Joanna said. Using your free periods and utilizing them wisely is so important, and it helps save so much time. That's something that I really had to get used to at the beginning, because you are being social. Sometimes there's a little bit of chatter in the library, but kind of that can save so much time. And if you walk into the library and I have to finish this during the free period, like 95% of the time you can finish it. Even if it's like a bigger task, if you really focus, the free periods are so helpful. Even just like the online of science, which is like some days the free period is shorter, but it's still so helpful. The second thing is that I would definitely say is I remember at my freshman orientation, one of the student representatives had said this, and it's impacted my high school experience so profoundly, is say hi to everyone in the halls, and that's something I would definitely share with your kids. I know Mr. Hirsch touched on this, but it really, it helps so much, and it makes it just such a better environment and culture. And
Thanks. That's great. You gave a lot of tips and tricks, so you can, if you want to skip it.
I have two for the kids and one as a parent. For the kids, when they go home, what I find is students will tend to do the homework with which they feel most comfortable first and leave the hard stuff for later, and of course by that time they're tired. And thus the things they find most difficult, they're doing when they're least able to do it. So my first thing for the kids is do the hard stuff first, or break it up. Do a little of the hard stuff, a little of the easy stuff, a little of the hard stuff, a little of the easy stuff. The other one I often say to students, and it's an ego thing. It's okay to ask for help, it's okay to ask the question. And when you don't understand, when things are beginning to pile up, when the shoulders are feeling really heavy, it is not just okay, it's necessary, and that's a skill that some of our students walk in without. And as a staff member whose children came through Deerfield High School, the thing I wish someone had said to me is how I see their experience and how they experience it are very different. And sometimes my perceptions color the way I want to interact with them. And I really have to understand that they're seeing that teacher, that class, that club, that audition in a very different way than I'm perceiving it as their protective dad.
I don't know if this is so much like one thing I wish I knew, but I think it's just super important to not compare your child, and to encourage your child to also not compare him or herself to their friends, that, you know, classes that they're taking or the honors classes that they're taking. And, you know, some of their friends may say that they have hours and hours of homework, and some kids may say they only have 1 hour of homework. Every kid is different. They're all going to be okay. And, you know, you got to do your best, and you have to encourage your child to do their best. And comparing, you know, yourself to others is just going to make it that much more difficult. So.
Thank you.
Okay, mine is using the resources at the school, like the Academic Resource Center, before you go and hire an outside tutor. They have tutors at school that they can go to during lunch, before or after school, during their free periods. And the other thing is, I think it is so important to tell your kids to get themselves in front of the teacher, not just when they don't understand something, but close to the beginning of the year, make an appointment with the teacher, ask a question, get yourself in front of the teacher so they know you care about your academics, because I think later they'll give you the benefit of the doubt if you need it, if they have a relationship with you.
And one more, have dinner with your kids every night. If you can do it, like, you know, they might come home at 6:30 or 6:45. If you can have dinner together every night and find out how their day was, really kind of have that, keep building that relationship with them. Best thing, that's going to be your best 4 years, is having that relationship and that open line of communication, and they know that you care, they know that you're listening. Dinner every night.
Is there some questions from the audience that we didn't answer that you have? Yes.
Do they have to use Chromebooks, or do they bring their own laptop? I was told they had to use Chromebooks, and then my daughter came home from school and said, one of the teachers said that this year they're allowing the kids to bring like their own MacBooks.
We do have students working with their own laptops. There are sometimes issues with that. For example, we do have technology that's hooked up into the Chromebook, and there may be moments where teachers look, and it may be teacher to teacher saying, I'm using the Hapara setup. The Hapara setup will not work with a student's individual laptop, and therefore a student may be, especially in an assessment situation. So if we are taking a test on the Chromebooks, some teachers will say, I'm sorry, because I'm monitoring that through this technology, through this software system, that may or may not. I do have at least 2 or 3 kids in every single class who are working with a Mac or other laptop. I'm very flexible about that, but I do know some of my colleagues are otherwise. Yes?
I have a question then. I'm confused about the, oh, sorry. It's about the Chromebooks. It says you need to buy your Chromebook. when, before school, is it purchased through school? That's what
Yes.
I don't understand that part.
You will see it on your Infinite Campus bill.
Okay, no, that's fine, but because I'm just used to middle
That's right.
school, they get, the Chromebook handed out, beginning
Right,
of
so
the year.
you'll see it on your bill, you'll pay for it in advance, and then your student will get it, I believe, the first or second day of school.
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
Okay. Is there, besides August 11th, can we come in or can the students come in and walk through the classrooms like the following week in between August 11th and the start of school?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
The good news is we're done with construction. So we had, in the past couple of years, have been a little bit difficult to do that, but we are pretty much finished. So for the most part, and so the August will be pretty open for kids to be able to come that week before. And we suggested coming by themselves, or if they know somebody older, to kind of walk the building and kind of like get a feel for it.
And the freshman teachers that first couple weeks are really lenient with tardies, and they know the kids are figuring out their way through the schools.
We try and be out in the hallways and greet them and talk to them and help guide them. Stand in the door.
And once they get their schedule, they're also going to get their locker with the locker combo. So as they're walking around the building trying to figure out where their classes are, always good to stop by the locker and make sure it opens.
Yes.
What, do they get the Deerfield planner at the book buy, or does that come?
That comes in homeroom. The first, I believe that's the first day of homeroom they get that.
And did you say that you would have your, like you sit with your kids for graduation? Do you keep the same group of kids all the way through?
So for homeroom, you're with them from the first day of school to the last, till graduation day.
Awesome.
Yes, that's for homeroom.
Who is it, the homeroom teacher?
That's your homeroom.
Homeroom teachers for 4 years,
That's great.
unless there's a personnel change.
Let's say with the counselor.
Correct.
Counselors 4 years.
Did you say the advisory is only freshman year?
Advisory is only freshman year. Correct, you don't have an advisory, again, just freshman year.
So if someone takes one of the specialized advisories, like the oral advisory, do they also have time to get work done, or is it dedicated to the activity?
It's a lot less.
For the arts advisories, I teach one of the arts advisories, we have a curriculum. So we have many fewer study days than they would have in the non-arts advisories. And students get both a grade and they get a credit. So there's a trade-off there.
Are the students going to get the information on how to sign up for this Infinite Campus? Is it something?
When the students receive their Chromebooks on the first day of school, we will teach them how to log into Infinite Campus. They will get their school email, their school Google account. All of those things will hook in almost immediately when they get the machine.
Okay, but it says on the 11th of August it's going to be available for them, their schedules and their locker numbers.
I think that the account you use to register will be the account that you will be able to then access this with. The kids have some other accounts that we'll get throughout the year. All of their computer access will come when their Chromebook comes, for the students.
Okay, but what I'm saying is we're only logged into whatever that is. Yeah, Naviance. But you're saying...
We promise you will have everything you need.
That's fine, I was just assuming you're going to send out something.
I thought in 8th grade curriculum night, did you only get Naviance? You only got Naviance? Okay.
Yeah.
So then that must be coming to you in an email.
Okay.
You'll get that.
So you have to purchase the Chromebook, unlike middle school. But you're saying it gets passed out, so do you keep it over the summer?
The Chromebook is the student's Chromebook for 4 years.
Okay.
You actually pay for it over the 4 years, so the price is not real high. It's broken up into 4 chunks. And the Chromebook is not made of chrome. It is made out of plastic. And we do have to encourage students, we give them a case as well, to treat it delicately, but it is theirs.
Insurance, I know they have that
Yes.
in middle school.
Well, there's insurance to buy as well too. All that information comes to you as well about that.
Okay, when they recharge their cell phone, they need to recharge their Chromebook every night.
My other question about Infinite Campus, so is that sort of like what Edmodo is in middle school? Or is that
What do we use in
Skyward?
school?
Skyward.
Skyward,
Okay.
Power School,
It's a
right.
little easier to navigate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
There's a,
Oh, sorry.
Never students told for the freshman class for 2007.
Sorry, the
Number of
number of
students.
freshmen, somewhere in the 410 range, I believe.
Right, we're always, each class, I mean, like, so our number is usually in that 400-ish range each year. Give or take a few, but it's usually in there. Well, 829, I think we did pretty well.